going live.
Yeah, es la voz de LA. It's like una galaxiana, come and kick it with us. I bring the bossa nova beats and talk the club that we love. Another year to adjust, and Will Kuntz we all trust. 6 titles in the cabin, tell a hater shut up. Mirar al horizonte con el cielo morado. Llegamos al estadio como siempre lo hago. Es la nueva temporada, ya cumplí 30 años. Rezándole a San Pequi que no dé al travesaño. Que repartan los balones y no sean tacaños. Que regrese el contraataque y que le hagamos daño. Un saludo para Robert, hermanos ecuatorianos. Que la táctica de Ananda nunca sean en vano. Si se trata de mi gala me levanto temprano. Ver el fur en verano, en el pasto tumbado. Siempre estoy a tu lado, en cualquier resultado. Vamos Galaxy, on top is where I gotta be. Chilling in the canopy, staging like a winery. Goles during rivalries, brew from the refinery. Only want the finer things, we letting you know. Lo que pasa en la galaxia, ready, let's start the show.
Hello, hola, and buenas, and welcome back to another episode of La Cuna Galaxiana, a podcast always made with love for all you LA Galaxy fans and all you soccer fans in general. You have a home here, and man, we are so glad you joined us. Today, the LA Galaxy have a game this weekend against Club América at the Digs, and yes, we'll touch on that, but today is really all about the seismic changes that MLS is making in an attempt to thrust itself into the top league conversation. MLS has announced a change in 2027 to a summer to spring season format, which aligns it with the top leagues of the world. We'll be joined by a friend of the show, Will Forbes, aka MLS Moves, who will be here to give us his thoughts on the huge news drop today and what the implications might be for the league. Plus, a German star is set to stay in Los Angeles, and a Brazilian starlet gets ever closer to the exit door. All that and more coming up on La Cuna Galaxiana. And we, like I mentioned, we just want to thank you guys for being with us here on what is sure to be a pod we're going to remember for a little while. I mean, this is certainly a groundbreaking occasion today. And before we go any further, let me introduce myself. I'm one of your co-hosts, Rob Halon. You can find my written work at the Sporting Tribune, and you can find me online at El Escudero de LA, the tag just there on the screen. And that man that said that spoke into the ether, spoke into the night, was my co-host, as usual, here with us, el papá de Natita, el yerno guapo y el gitano perdido, Ananda Kirana. Papa, you already said a pretty good adjective for what happened today. We have a great guest on with us today to talk about it all, but just really quick, I mean, where were you when the news dropped?
I was working, slaving away, doing some paperwork, and I probably caught it late, to be fair, but I was like, oh man, we've got to do an emergency pod. I was like, but oh man, I'm actually not as smart as I sound, and oh man, we need someone to help us sift through all this and what the implications are and all that stuff. So we had to bring someone on that's a hell of a lot smarter than both of us combined, Rob. That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah, well, no, great guest to have on to break things down and give us his thoughts on everything. And we're really happy that if you're here with us live, that you're here, so you can go ahead and start throwing some questions. Adam, we do have super chats available, so go ahead, and if you got to get something off your chest, if you got to say something or get a question in there, know what to do. Hi to everybody on X and Instagram. Thanks so much for watching. Go ahead and subscribe. Jump on over to YouTube. We are on the road to those 800 subscribers, so go ahead and help us out.
Sure.
But Ananda, we've been kind of teasing it, beating around the bush a little bit, but certainly this is some of the biggest news since I've been covering the league today. It dropped. I mean, aside from covering MLS Cup, this is pretty up there. So like we mentioned, MLS announced a change in its competitive calendar beginning the summer of 2027, which aligns the schedule with the world's top leagues. This, along with other really good tidbits of news around this momentous shift, like no more MLS season pass and the move to a single table, aim to make MLS one of the top leagues in the world. And now, really the reason everybody's here to help us break everything down around this huge change is friend of the show, Will Forbes, aka MLS Moves. Welcome back, Will. Thanks so much for being here with us.
Man. Bienvenidos.
And thanks for staying up late with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's been a while since I've been on. I think it was last year, maybe before MLS Cup, if I'm not mistaken. So it's been a while, but yeah, this is a seismic shift in the league. I think it's probably the most historic thing to ever happen. This is going to have huge ramifications for the league going forward on a multitude of reasons, and I'm sure we're going to get into those. Want to touch on one thing real quick though, because you just mentioned about how they're going to get rid of the Eastern and Western Conference, and they're going to have one big table.
Sure.
I think the coolest thing, and not to take a side, but one of the coolest things is that we could possibly get an El Tráfico MLS Cup final now.
Yes.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
We'll
that is amazing.
Sure.
I mean, definitely that's one of the hypotheticals that it can exist now because of this momentous occasion. If you had to boil it down to one word, what would it be, Will?
Excitement. I'm just so excited. This is, a lot of people have a lot of criticisms for Major League Soccer about what they're doing wrong and how they could be better. And I feel like anyone who is, they say Euro snobs, people who always have something bad to say about Major League Soccer, a lot of people would say it's about the calendar, that they don't play the same calendar as some of these other big leagues around the world, and it hinders them, and it causes maybe some confusion or disinterest because of when certain games are played. But now we're on the same exact calendar schedule as all the top leagues around the world, and it's exciting. And like I said, we'll probably get into some more details about why it's exciting. And, excitement is the one word, but also kind of surprised because I really didn't know this was ever going to happen. 10 years ago, Don Garber said that they were never going to do this because it just logistically wouldn't work with the teams we had. But 10 years later, we're here. It's changed. It's officially official. And 2027 is going to be a huge year.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because that was actually going to be my next question to you, because I mean, you follow this quite, closely, and we've seen the Board of Governors in the league go to the vote before, and typically they've let the fans down and not made the moves. And, we knew this vote was coming up today, and I didn't think it was going to pass. I mean, I knew it was going to go to the vote again. I just didn't think it was going to pass yet. I was like, they're probably like one vote away from passing it. So I was certainly surprised. So, I mean, did it take you by surprise that it actually passed?
Well, they were supposed to vote in April on this, and they kind of kicked the can down the road. I'm not exactly sure why. Maybe it was because they thought if they voted in favor of it then that there would be more pressure to change it sooner, like for the 2026 season. And I don't think they wanted to do that, just so that way it doesn't cause any chaos with the World Cup, especially because they're going to have this weird half season before the new schedule starts. They're going to play like a 14-game season. So I thought it was inevitable, honestly, based on what I'd heard. I heard there was like only 3 holdouts who didn't want it to happen. Yeah. And it was like Minnesota, I think, and I want to say Montreal and like Toronto were the 3 team owners who didn't want that to happen. So when you have 27 or 30 teams, it's probably going to happen.
Yeah, definitely. And I sat in on the press conference with Don Garber and Nelson Rodriguez, and yeah, Don Garber, I mean, didn't seem like he was spinning the party line when he said it was passed pretty overwhelmingly. So, there's broad support for it. Will, before we go any further, I'm about to go ahead and break down the changes here for the folk who aren't privy or aren't up on game. But before we get into it, please tell the folk where they can find you, where they can sub, and what else you're getting into here pretty soon.
Yeah, you can follow me and subscribe to me at MLS Moves, which is on the screen. I post stuff on Twitter. Some controversial gets me in hot water, especially when it comes to calendar change, because some people are very passionate about it one way or the other. Also, post a lot of content on the channel. Did a live stream today talking about the calendar change in depth and detail, why it's good, why it's bad, all that stuff. And also, we got MLS Cup playoffs. I'm sorry about your Galaxy this year. It's unfortunate that happened. But, there's always next year. But I'm still covering the MLS Cup playoffs. We got a couple games coming up next weekend. And, yeah, man, it should be exciting.
You know,
Yeah.
absolutely good games.
I
Y'all
was gonna
heard
say
them.
all the best, man. You've been killing it. I've seen you with Don Favi, with Tack, with all these cats. So you're here, there, and everywhere. So just keep doing it, man. Congratulations, and you're on the road to 20K now, I think, right?
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yes, it's exciting times, and I'll say this too. I feel like today with the changes, and there's been two big changes. It's kind of one of those things that kind of gives you reassurance you're doing the right thing and that this thing is heading in the right direction, and it's all worth it. So
Right.
that's a good thing.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, as a member of the press corps, you know, you sit there and you report on when the league does things right. You also report on when the league does things poorly, and this was definitely a coup for the league. I mean, not only because they were finally intelligent and did the right thing and made this change, but also it kind of gave me heart because I thought to myself, they finally listened to their fans. We're gonna go ahead and take this super chat real quick. Big Leo, what up, man? Thank you so much. He says, with how crazy the weather has been in recent years, how long do you think I'm assuming it'll take them to take into consideration possible backup stadiums to host? Well, Leo, you're in luck. I'm about to go ahead. I'm about to break down what exactly changed, and it seems like they've started to not started, but they've taken these things into account. So what exactly has changed, guys? Beginning in the summer of 2027, MLS is going to adopt that summer to spring season format, making this one of the biggest changes in the history of the league. It follows a 2-year review process that began in October of 2023, taking into account feedback from owners, club executive, players, the MLSPA, partners, and most importantly, you guys, the fans. There was a lot of research done on this, and they spent a lot of time talking to fans, and overwhelmingly, 92% of fans that consider themselves avid MLS watchers supported the change. Leo, you were just talking about the weather here. Don Garber doesn't seem to be concerned about the weather. He says that they did a lot of research on when to position the schedule, and they have basically the data, so they avoid scheduling so many northern home matches during the winter months. I'm imagining, just like you mentioned, there is a plan for maybe a backup stadium here or there if need be. There are studies done as well on the previous calendar in which it shows that the 27 and 28 season is actually going to fall within 91% of where the matches right now fall. So it's not going to be as big a change as you really get from the actual gameplay or like when the games fall, but you're going to get all the benefits of it. So the calendar transition and the new regular season structure were approved by, of course, the owners and the board of governors. And Don Garber, of course, is pleased as punch. And we've been talking about how important it is. He went on to say as much. So that means the regular season will kick off in July 2027. MLS Cup will be in late May. So July to December, and then midwinter break, and then you'll go ahead and have February and culminating in late May. So I'll stop here to get thoughts from Will on the changes so far, starting with this specifically. How do you think this potentially raises the attention or awareness and profile of MLS domestically, especially in the context of the larger sports landscapes in the U.S.? I mean, they will be competing now on some fronts with, for example, Major League Baseball, on a couple fronts with basketball. But what do you think it does for the profile of MLS?
Well, I think it's incredible, the change. I mean, you look at the playoffs in May, you're only competing with the NBA playoffs, which you could schedule around because they don't play every single day, or at least the better teams don't. And then you have the NHL playoffs. But right now, MLS Cup playoffs are happening. You have college football, you have the NFL, you have NBA regular season. The World Series was just 2 weeks ago. Go Dodgers. And then you also have NHL. So every single sport except baseball that just ended is all playing right now. I would rather play against the NBA playoffs than NFL or college football. I mean, that's a juggernaut. You're not winning that matchup.
Right.
So you're going to get more people potentially to watch your games when the season matters the most. Last season when the Galaxy played the Red Bulls, that's the two biggest markets in the entire country. And I don't know how many people watched on Apple TV, but they reported that on Fox that it was only like 476,000 people. Just not enough. It was because it was competing with college football championship weekend, the conference championships. You're just hard to win that battle. But with this change, you don't have to worry about that anymore. You don't have to worry about competing against those sports. And I understand that you're kind of flipping it. So now that the sports we're talking about right now are going to be competing with the regular season MLS, but that's fine. I mean, I would rather compete with the regular season than the playoffs, because the playoffs is what matters the most.
Those are the most compelling stories. Those are the stories you want being told. I mean, everyone's going to remember the champion, but no one's going to remember your 17th game in the middle of the season, unless it was just absolutely a banger. Well, you already mentioned it. There's going to be this kind of mini tournament, and I thought this one was interesting, and kind of maybe MLS is back 2.0. Before the change of the new calendar, MLS is going to have a transition season from February to May 2027. Like you mentioned, 14 games, then playoffs and MLS Cup. These results will determine qualification for 2027 for the U.S. Open Cup, the Canadian Championship, Leagues Cup, and CONCACAF Champions Cup. So this mini tournament will take place over 3 months. And then just bringing you guys up to speed on the timeline, obviously 2026 is going to run like normal. It'll start in February and end in December of 2026. Then they'll have a break. The mini tournament will start from February 2027 to May 2027. Then there will be the schedule change when the season starts in July. Well, we see that the schedule change will align MLS to be on the same track as the most high-profile leagues in the world. And then it'll also position the league to be better equipped to compete in competitions like the CONCACAF Champions Cup. How does this help increase MLS's chances and competitiveness in this competition?
Significantly. I mean, you think about it, MLS teams traditionally have to play their first match while they're still in preseason. They'll play their first CONCACAF Champions Cup match before they even play their first MLS regular season match. That's what Miami had to do. They had to go play Sporting Kansas City. But a lot of teams, it makes you wonder how many teams have fallen through the cracks because they didn't get a chance to get in form at their best when they're playing in this tournament. And how many times did we maybe miss out on a trophy because of that? Maybe even the Galaxy and some other teams, maybe LAFC, don't want to say it too loud because I know, obviously. But, it's the truth, though. There's a lot of opportunities we probably missed. And now with this calendar change, Liga MX and MLS's seasons are going to exactly be the same now. Exactly the same. That's a big deal.
Yeah. I mean, you might see the Galaxy play their first game as early as February 3rd this year. Certainly not when,
just like Will said.
Certainly not when they're in form, but they might have to play their first competitive match in a big tournament. Other things we learned today, guys. And I know this one is going to be a big one for you, Will. Apple TV is eliminating MLS Season Pass next year. Rather than make subscribers pay an additional fee to access MLS content, now all of the league's matches will be available to every Apple TV subscriber with their standard plan. Season ticket holders will across the league who previously received a complimentary subscription to MLS Season Pass will now receive an annual Apple TV subscription at no additional cost. So it looks like they did the right thing here as well. Well, I know that this has been something you've spoken about frequently. Give us your thoughts on why this is a win for fans.
Well, I think it's a win for fans in the sense of simplicity, right? They didn't really roll it out in a very user-friendly way. Like, it was kind of confusing. Like, do you have to get Apple TV Plus, or can you just buy the MLS Season Pass? They never really did a good job of like explaining that. So I think it was kind of, I don't want to say doomed to fail from the start, but it did make it a little tricky. I think this is a good step in the right direction, but it's also something to be cautious about because they're doing this because I feel like they're kind of acknowledging it hasn't really been working the way that it was, right? And we want to have as many people viewing this league as possible to help it grow because how is it supposed to gain new fans if no one's watching it or getting a chance to see it? So I think they said something like 50 million people have Apple TV. So that means that now instead of, a million people get to watch MLS, 50 million can
50
watch it
million
if they want to.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's a good thing, right? That's a good thing. I don't want to say maybe a little skeptical to see how much of a difference it makes because even though the people have access to it, they need to watch it. So you need to get these people to want to watch the games.
Right.
But it is a good step in the right direction. So I mean, you have to give them credit for doing this. They're not stubborn and just saying it is what it is, and we'll see what happens in 10 years when the deal is done. So it is a step. They had two big steps in the right direction today. It's the first for MLS.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're as surprised as I am, I guess, because I was like, "What is this? Is this John Garber's league? Who is this man?" Canadian teams, we also heard for the purposes of transfers and stuff like that are going to count as domestic. Nelson Rodriguez confirmed as much. If you guys don't know, Nelson Rodriguez is the executive vice president of sporting and competition for MLS. He said that the 3 Canadian clubs, Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver, have been given permission to act as domestic U.S. clubs. And of course, that opens the door for MLS to work with U.S. Soccer to then move the transfer windows in the league's new era when they make that switch in the schedule. So how does that schedule change help MLS compete more effectively in the international transfer window?
I mean, I think it's a huge deal. I think about how a lot of teams don't want to sell their best players in the winter window because that's their secondary window. They want to keep on their players for the rest of the season, whether they're fighting against relegation or they're trying to win the league. A lot of teams don't want to get rid of their best players. So being on the same primary transfer window is huge. And the fact that you get your best players, which most of them are moved in the summer, now they're going to be with you in the preseason, and they're not going to be joining your club 2/3 of the season through, right? Because it's not really the summer transfer window. Really isn't the halfway point. It's really you're almost like 25 games into the season or 24 games into the season, so it's really like 2/3, maybe a little more. So that's huge, and because there was a rumor last year that Gabriel Peck was going to get major interest this summer based off his 2024 season, right? That the Galaxy were going to be able to sell him in 2025 this summer. He's going to get a lot of interest. He's going to sell for a record fee. But at the same time, the Galaxy, Will Kuntz was like, we don't want to sell him in the middle of the season because what if we're going on a run and we need him? Like no one wants to sell their best player or one of their best players when they're on a run. But now with this, you don't have to worry about that anymore. You can sell him and replace him and get the new guy in for the preseason. So that is a huge, huge deal. Some people think that's the biggest deal of this change is just being aligned with the primary transfer window with every other top league in the world.
Yeah, Will Kuntz has been talking about that. I know he made a quote today. He's been harping on that one for a while. So it'll be interesting, man. But you're absolutely right, and I think it puts MLS on a little bit more of a level playing field and makes those negotiations much easier. Now it's up to the teams. Like there's no excuse now. Like these GMs have to make things happen.
Exactly. Will, you touched on it at the top. MLS is indeed going to a single table with 5 divisions. We heard from Don Garber and Nelson Rodriguez that they intend to get, or their intention is anyway, to get all these changes over the line for 2027, and that includes the single table. You talked about it, Will. The impact of this single table is, we could see things like an El Tráfico MLS Cup. What other interesting rivalry could you maybe picture going hard in MLS Cup?
I mean, Seattle versus Portland, obviously is a big deal. Maybe the 2 New York teams, the Hudson River Derby. It's just all these possibilities now. And, one of the other things too, why I think it's good is because in some years the Western Conference is down a little bit, or maybe the Eastern Conference is down a little bit. So maybe an Eastern Conference team just had a bad season or an unlucky season where they just ran through the gauntlet, and then the Western Conference team just had an easy path. That doesn't matter anymore. Like, the two best teams are going to make the final now with this new format, which is awesome, right? And the El Tráfico possibility, that would hit so hard. Like, I mean, I know that it would be kind of debatable if they would want to do this, but I mean, I would like to think that an El Tráfico MLS Cup final could sell out SoFi, like, or maybe come close. I mean, that would be, it probably could.
Rose Bowl.
Rose Bowl
for Rose Bowl before. Yeah.
They did 90 racks for the Rose Bowl. So,
exactly.
I mean,
yeah, so that would be incredible. And also, too, I think another thing that's so important about this is, based on what I've read with the divisions, you're going to play everyone in your division twice, which is going to be regional, right? It's going to be the closest teams to you. So you're going to play everyone twice, and then you get to play every other team once. That is so important, too, because now when you win the Supporter Shield, you could say, I played every single team in the league, and I had the most points.
Right. Legitimacy.
Yeah. So I think that's a cool thing. That's important, I think.
We have a super chat from the big homie XPH executive producer. He says, "Hey, Rob, Nanda, Will, do you think this move is some response to USL pro rel idea? Also, I don't think this helps the quality of the league unless the cap is raised, changed, allowing for more depth when competing with the Liga MX. We'll let you take this one."
Yeah. So I mean, I don't think MLS is really too worried about USL, but I do think that they're trying to chase bigger goals, right? They definitely want to try to take this league to another level. I don't really. I'm going to be curious to see how the USL situation, plays out and how it works. I think they're going to implement that in like 2 years, maybe 2027, 2028. Now, I do think it does help the league quality because of what we talked about earlier. It allows you to get involved with a whole different pool of players and be more competitive with who you're bringing in. But I will say there also needs to be a raise in the spending too, just a little bit, give us a little bit of something here, like, we're ready for this thing. Take the training wheels off, got the calendar change, Apple TV's changed a little bit to get some more people to watch the league. Like, I think that would help. But guys, I know you guys watch more than just the LA Galaxy. If there's a big MLS game, you're watching it, right? There's been several years where MLS teams were just this close to winning CONCACAF Champions Cup. So I'd like to think that even as the teams are currently constructed, if they're in form, like that Galaxy team last year in 2024, the one MLS Cup, I'd like to think if that team was in full form playing in the Champions Cup, they would have had a very good chance of winning it.
Agreed.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely one of those things where you think about all the wasted opportunities, but now that is a thing of the past. Also a thing of the past, potentially. MLS Cup playoff format again. It might change again, guys. The league is also reviewing doing potential adjustments to the current format. They're still evaluating and nothing finalized. And then, according to Gambit with the good hair, aka Tommy Bogert, the stash, MLS plans to extend the transfer window a bit beyond when major European windows close after the schedule flips in the summer of 2027. Things still to handle for MLS before the change. They need to finalize the agreement with the MLSPA on the transition plan, finalize the league table, obviously, and then what to do with the league's cup. There are some rumors that it could be during the winter break. We will put you up on game on that when we know more. Well, this was announced today, but won't be implemented until the summer of 2027 after the World Cup. Is that too late for you, or does it land just at the right time?
Well, I think it would have been ideal to do it after the World Cup because you would have had that World Cup momentum and buzz heading into the new format. But it's just too late, right? A lot of players are going to be deterred not to come here because the weird half monstrosity season of 14 games, they're just not going to understand what that is, and they're not going to want to be here, especially because they want to be in their tip-top shape for the World Cup. So I understand why they're waiting maybe a year longer than we would like. Like I said, I'm just happy they're doing it, right? The fact that it's officially official, that to me is good enough, even if we do have to wait maybe a year longer. But yeah, in a perfect world, you would have liked to see the World Cup lead into this, because then you could have just been postering it everywhere that, by the way, after the World Cup, MLS starting the new calendar, come
Yeah.
check out your domestic or your local team. Like, that would have been really cool.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, Will, we talked about a lot of positives today. Obviously, you've talked about a little bit of a blind spot with the Apple TV deal. I mean, if you guys want to check out Will's thoughts on the Apple TV deal, he has plenty of videos on his channel, so go check that out. But are there any other blind spots here that we're not thinking about, or any other cons that you think that we need to
Good question,
talk
Amanda.
through?
As far as the Apple TV deal?
No, in general, like these changes, what you'd like to see more, any blind spots with what, like you brought up a really good point with the Apple thing. I think there's still a ways to go there, for example. Is there anything else?
Well, I do think that they need to be more creative with their scheduling to kind of like hype these games up. I don't think that Sunday night soccer should really be a thing during the NFL season. I think it should be Friday night soccer. I think that would be really cool. And I don't think you're really competing against anything. And I would like to see more promotion. I just felt like in years past, MLS has not been very good at promoting these big games. And it's kind of like one of those things you just kind of have to know about, or you're not going to watch it.
Exactly.
So I would like to see there be more promotion, more money thrown behind getting people excited. But at the end of the day, guys, I mean, this calendar change is probably one of the two biggest things that I've wanted for this league. If we can get this spending thing increased, which, I've been saying for years, it's going to come, it's going to be here. It's just a little bit longer, it's not far down the road, but here we are. TAM, target allocation money, Mr. Omar Gonzalez rule to get Gio Dos Santos, right? That's why it was created. That was 10 years ago. And that's the last significant change I've seen in Major League Soccer, in my opinion, that actually helps really, really change things. Now, the U22 rule, it's hit or miss, but TAM is really what made the middle of the roster more balanced and brought the quality up, right?
Yeah.
There really hasn't been a big rule like that in 10 years. So I'd like to see more. I'd like to see them be a little bit more proactive with that.
Well, I know that you're late over there in Tennessee, so we're going to leave you here with this last question, and of course, you're welcome to jump on anytime again. You're right; it had been about a year since we last touched base, and don't make yourself
about a year since the Galaxy have been good, man. So there you go.
It's been a long year, guys.
Yeah. Well, open invitation. You can come back and talk about whatever you need to talk about at any time. You have a home here. Last question here, unless Ananda has anything else. But what is the most important change that came down today that for you?
Well, I want to tell you guys too, if you want to go a little longer, I'm cool to go with you just a little bit longer. That's fine with me, because I know you mentioned something about Marco Reus. Talking a little bit about him. We could talk about that. I want to talk about the Galaxy a little more because, I don't think anyone's really wanted to talk about him this year. So
Right.
There really hasn't been a lot of discussions to kind of talk about things. But repeat that question one more time. What was I most excited about today? Is that what you asked?
What was the most important change? And certainly hang out and you're invited to hang out as long as you'd like. So what was the most important change for you today? Was it the transfer thing, or was it the physical change in the calendar?
It's the calendar. It's the calendar all day. I mean, like I said, this is something that kind of seemed like a dream, like it would never actually happen. And you want to know why? One of the things that makes me happy about this change is there was a lot of people, a lot of detractors who just didn't want this to happen. And I saw them when they saw everything kind of come out and read it and saw the schedule in front of them on a graph. They were more open to it. They're like, yeah, it's kind of growing on me. Like, I kind of see it. Like, it's really not that different. It just kind of flipped around and reshaped, but it's really not that different from what we're doing now. So just to see people kind of come around to it and realize that this is probably a good thing, I think is a positive, and it makes me happy. And I think that this is huge, guys. I'm telling you, this, like I said earlier, this is probably the biggest thing to happen in Major League Soccer history, because this changes the whole entire league. Now, when they increase the spending, we'll have another conversation, right? But I mean, this is the first time in the history of the league that they have completely changed the calendar. It had been like we currently are, the February through November or December. It kind of changes that way, but it's been like that since day one. So this is a dramatic change compared to what we've seen in years past.
Do you think that something like this has the potential to achieve Don Garber's dream of making MLS a top 5 league? I mean, of course, we're not going to see it in the immediate, but you mentioned a world in which 50 million people now have MLS on Apple TV, right? So I for some reason I thought, just like you're watching Severance and the episode ends and then it automatically suggests something like, oh, this is what's playing live, or you should watch this. And before you didn't really have that because you had that behind the paywall. So do you envision a world in which this is that momentous or this groundbreaking that it achieves those gains for Don Garber?
I don't think we're going to see that in Don Garber's tenure because there's still a lot of things that need to be done to really get to that. But like I said, it's a positive step in the right direction. And the most important thing about this for Don Garber, and I mentioned this earlier, is the fact that he was very, very against and saying this wasn't going to happen. He said, we cannot change the calendar. It does not work in North America. So that speaks a lot to me because it shows that Don Garber's actually willing to listen and take new information and be open to doing something that could be better for the league. Maybe he isn't old and stubborn. Maybe he is willing to do something innovative, right? So that's the biggest positive to me. So who knows? I mean, if they take the training wheels off in the offseason and increase spending, who knows what this thing could be?
Yeah.
Oh man, that'll be supercharged, right? I mean, hey, all of a sudden, right after the World Cup, they're like, sign anyone you want, right?
Yeah. Well,
that's going a little far though.
And we talked about this too, but just trying to corner the conversation in a different way. The MLS playoff format changes will be interesting because, Will, one of the things we talked about was there's this narrative that MLS is kind of a joke league, right? And there's all these things like 3-game first round series. The Galaxy fans third of the way in the season were already over it, and things like that. And so I think that it's not a seismic shift like this calendar change, but that could have really strong implications, especially with the perception of the league worldwide, not only domestically, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, that's another important thing too about the playoffs. Hopefully they do change it. I'm doing a video right now working on one about some of the possible changes they're going to make, and there's one like suggestion or potential route they're going to take I'm not too crazy about. Supposedly it's replicating the Australian League. So where if you're the first 2 seeds, you don't get eliminated until you lose 2 games, but everyone beneath you get, if they lose 1 game, they're out. I don't really like that because that still feels like we're doing the best of 3, but in a different way. And it's kind of weird and doesn't really replicate anything else in soccer. But another thing too, guys, is why I'm so happy about this is because LAFC and Vancouver played 3 weeks ago when the next match between their last match and their next match is 3 weeks. That's insane. In the new format, the playoffs would almost be over because they're doing it in one singular month.
You almost forget the playoffs are going on. You're like,
correct.
Wait, what? Wait,
yeah.
Who's playing?
Exactly. And that's the thing too. It's like maybe that's another reason why the MLS Cup final didn't do as well last year is because there was just so much time in between where the momentum just really died down. And unless you're a diehard fan, you kind of just lost interest or forgot about what was going on, right? You're like, oh yeah, that is back on, right? Oh, I forgot. It was 3 weeks ago, the best of 3, right? But yeah, I think that's important. But the best of 3 is atrocious. Like it has no place in soccer. I saw Wilfred Nancy said today that they had beaten Cincinnati 5-3 as far as goals scored and allowed, but Cincinnati still advanced in the playoffs. So if it was an aggregate system, they would have won, but they didn't because of this goofy system that no one really likes.
Right.
And another thing that's just frustrating is the inconsistency. Why are we doing 3 games and going straight to single elimination?
Exactly. You're like, what? Like you mentioned, where in the world is that replicated? This is hopefully a step towards sanity, and hopefully when they do approach those playoff changes, they take all that into consideration. I hadn't heard that about the Australian League. That is a little wacky.
It's wild.
Hopefully they don't adopt that one. Let's look at some reactions from Galaxylandia here. Galaxy GM Will Kuntz was quoted as, moving the international calendar is going to be a massive game changer, especially for roster building. It finally allows us to operate in sync with the global transfer market. We'll be able to sign players when the biggest talent movement happens in the summer instead of midseason when integration is difficult. We also have former Galaxy defender, ex-U.S. men's national team coach, and current Chicago Fire coach, Greg Berhalter. The beauty of MLS is how it has evolved over the years, and another step in that evolution is aligning with the top leagues in the world. And Greg Vanney, we spoke to him ahead of the Galaxy's match against the Club América today, and he spoke before this was adopted, a couple hours before. He was asked about it, of course, and he was overwhelmingly in favor, spoke about the competitive advantages and the additional time with incoming players. And then the prices for those, this was something interesting, Will, that I actually hadn't thought about. And of course, kind of makes sense, right? Because if you're in a funky window and you don't want to lose those players for, say, that relegation battle or that championship run, prices are going to be elevated, right? So, this is one of the things I didn't think about. But for you, can you think of maybe an advantage that, a team like that 2024 Galaxy could have had with, having this in place? I mean, I believe you mentioned that Champions Cup.
Yeah, well, I think one example is when Will Kuntz was cooking, right? And when he was looking for wingers to build this team, Gabriel Peck was not the first option. They had several guys they were trying to get before him.
Ramon Sosa,
yeah, and then Facundo Pellistri, I think, was another one who was at Manchester United, the Uruguayan.
Right. Exactly.
And they didn't want to sell them, or they couldn't get a deal. And those teams have the leverage because not many teams are willing to sell their best players or just players that they value at the in the midway point of the season. But luckily, the Brazilian league, their season starts similar to what MLS does. Like, they play the full calendar year. They don't do the European schedule. So they didn't really lose a guy in the middle of the season. It worked out their way. And I think there's even maybe a little back and forth with Josef Paintso. Like, I don't think that was an easy transfer either.
It was not.
So yeah, that makes it more difficult. So, hey, congratulations to Will Kuntz for getting those done, because that is the most important reason why you guys won MLS Cup, I think, in 2020. Ricky Puig obviously is important too, but it doesn't look as good without those two guys on the wings.
Exactly.
So yes, I think that it's going to be better. Like Marco Reus, if they'd signed him, he would have technically been a preseason signing. He would have been a preseason signing in 2024 instead of a 2/3 signing like we talked about earlier. And I think that's important because those type of players, it's not common you guys get a Zlatan Ibrahimovic in the beginning of the season. Most of the time, it's like Robbie Keane coming in the summer, David Beckham coming in the summer, Gio Dos Santos coming in the summer. You want those guys to be with the team day one preseason, not trying to fit in more than halfway through the season and waste the year.
Yeah, it takes, unless you're just that gifted, it takes anybody a little bit of time to bed in, right? And you mentioned Reus. And, just how beneficial it would have been for the Galaxy to have him at the beginning of the year. Well, it looks like they'll have another opportunity to run it back with Reus. Looks like he's set to stay in Los Angeles. According to the publication, and I hope I'm saying this right, I'm not really good with my German, but Ruhr Nachrichten, the 36-year-old, is close to signing a contract extension with LA Galaxy. Who is your source, might you be asking? And it's none other than Reus's agent, Dirk Hibbel. He says we are in very good talks with the Galaxy, Marco Reus, and Los Angeles. It's simply a very good fit. Both sides want to continue and expand the successful cooperation, Hibbel said. And then, this current contract runs to the end of 2026, and now it looks to be extended for another year until the end of 2027. With what you saw from Marco Reus this year, there was a period in this very dismal year where he basically put the Galaxy on his back because nobody else was really doing anything. Is this a good signing for the Galaxy, or should they, try to save that money and try to reinvest it somewhere else?
I personally don't think it is. And and I'm not saying that Mark Royce hasn't given some good games to the Galaxy, but like you said, he's just been inconsistent and he has been injury prone. And he's 36 years old. He's going to be 38 by the end of that contract if he signs. It's always better to be a year too early than a year too late. And I just feel like if he really falls off, because guys, when you get this age, not everyone's guaranteed, which to be fair, he was never Zlatan's level anyway, but it's just, you're never guaranteed to be that type of player. At 37, 38, you can just fall off drastically and decline and be useless, right? I just think that the cons outweigh the pros on this. I wouldn't do it. I just think there's so many other holes this team need and have. I honestly was thinking maybe the Galaxy, because he's making like 1.5 mil, right? Or something like that.
Right.
I was thinking maybe the Galaxy would try to buy him out. They get 2 buyouts now per season and use that money to reinforce the back line, maybe get some more midfield depth. I just think that money could be utilized a lot better than keeping around a 37-year-old who's inconsistent or injured half the time.
You know, I'm not gonna be able to push back on that. I mean, the stats or like the data would tell us it's not really that intelligent of a signing. You know, the hope is that next year with Ricky Puig back, Marco Reus isn't going to be your main guy that you have to rely on like the Galaxy had to for large parts of this season, but rather the guy that is going to come on and maybe like the 70th minute and, you know, settle a game down for you or pad the goals a little bit for you as well.
That's what Will Kuhn signed him for, man. That's exactly. I mean, he threw in the kitchen sink. He pulled all his chips in the table, and it worked out. Right, it worked out. You guys remember we were tied 1-1 against Minnesota in the first half, and Royce with a peach of a free kick on the head of Dejan Jovic, 2-1 broke open that game. He has those winning moments, but we're talking about in the context of MLS, in the context of 1.5 or 1.6 million a year, whatever that is. Can you be more efficient with that with the other deficiencies that we have? That's the big question on top of what Will talked about, which was durability and age. And the only other thing, guys, I'll throw in here for banter, if he can be Agent Royce and bring in Lewandowski, then we should probably keep him and pay that 1.7.
Oh, and interesting you're talking strikers because
we need one.
Well, I was going to update you. Okay. Greg was asked today, by yours truly, if there had been any progress on transfer talks or that loan extension with Nasty Nas, aka Mateus Nascimento with Botafogo, and he said that no progress, and obviously he would not be playing against Club América. And it was funny because Greg goes, I don't even think legally he can play. So I don't think that those talks are going well. However, it was said at media availability day the other day. It doesn't look like it's going well. So now, Greg's talked about his need and want for a striker that's going to give him 15 to 20, a striker that's going to yearn for goals, be hungry for goals, but also be able to get to the spot. He says that right now he has players that can either, finish or have the vision, but not get to the spot, or, don't have the technique to finish. And so he wants a player that can do it all. Ananda mentioned Lewandowski.
He wants Dejan Jovic, you mean? Is that what you're trying to say, Rob? He wants Dejan Jovic back?
Exactly. He wants him back so bad. No, but I was going to ask, now with this these changes coming, obviously those are too late, but Greg needs a striker. If it had to be somebody in league, who would you go with? I mean, we heard today that or a couple of days ago that Josef Martinez was a free agent. Might that be a good fit for the Galaxy?
There's a couple interesting players. Now, Josef Martinez would be nice, but he's kind of injury prone too. And I think he's destined to go back to Atlanta United now that Tata Martino got rehired. That's his guy. So I don't think that would probably be in play. But that's I would say that's got to be at the top of the list, guys, with them, with you guys improving. You miss Jovic. Nascimento was hurt or, looked young and just he wasn't ready, right? And then Christian Ramirez wasn't as good as I thought he was going to be. I thought he was going to be a very solid signing or trade, especially returning home. I just thought that was going to be a good bridge piece to get Nascimento the time he needed to eventually start. And then Miguel Berry's Miguel Berry, which, I think they declined his option. So that's that tenure is officially over.
Once the G
it just really sucks, though, that you really don't have a lot of flexibility with this, because if you want to get that lethal Jovic type production, you probably have to sell a DP and go get someone like that, which you don't want to do. You don't want to get rid of Peck. You don't want to get rid of Paintsel. You don't want to get rid of Puig. You want to keep all those guys and just keep adding on to it, which is one of the shitty things about MLS, sadly, right? That's one of the
you get rid of Reus and invest that money in a young DP or a U22. I'm sorry, a U22.
Yeah. Right? Well, also too, another thing you could consider is Philadelphia is really good this year, right? And they signed a Uruguayan striker before the season, or like maybe a month in, and they intended for him to start. But then Ty Baribo just started absolutely tearing it up. I think he's got like maybe 16 goals in Major League Soccer, and maybe he's got more than that. Yeah, maybe someone like that. Maybe just a guy that could be available to a team that's a little bit richer, that has that they can afford to lose a piece for a certain cost, or maybe trade a certain player for him. That's a player I'd keep an eye on. I just think, honestly, guys, with the service that they have, not to talk bad about Jovic, because he had a good season on a bad team this year in Sporting Kansas City.
He did.
But when you have Paintsel and Peck and Puig behind you, as long as you're just not a terrible player, you should be fine and probably score, 12 to 15 goals if you're not just awful. So I think that is a positive for the Galaxy, that they maybe could get away with something other teams couldn't get away with.
Yeah, no.
I was gonna say Dylan Vanny at number 9. What do you think, man? What do you think?
Oh man, I don't know if he's ready, man.
I don't know if Greg's ready either.
Yeah, no, I don't think he's ready. And dang it, you made me lose it. I had a good follow up for Will.
Sorry.
Striker related.
It was striker. No, it was actually defense related. Thank you. Okay. Because we've been talking about a striker, right, for the Galaxy, and like you said, as long as you're not a terrible player, you're going to get 12 to 15, right? So the goals are going to be there. But the problem for the Galaxy for the past couple of years has been the defense. I mean, in 2023, they was it 20? Yeah, in 2023 they shipped 27. 67. Yep. 67. This year they shipped 66. Walker Zimmerman is available. Would you take him? Yes or no? Would you throw him some bag? Would you try to shore up your defense by getting a player like Walker Zimmerman in?
That's a tough one, just because the fact that Walker Zimmerman would probably be a max TAM deal too. So that means you'd have 2 players, and you have to. Oh man, that's a tough one. I would probably be more willing to do that if you didn't have Marco Reus on the books, because it gives you a little more flexibility to get that striker we talk about, and then also kind of, shore up that back line, which desperately needs to happen. I'm curious too if you guys think the goalkeeper maybe bring someone to compete. I mean, that was a little shaky this year. That's an issue as well.
Yeah.
But I think we clearly saw the deficiencies. My good friend Chris Tucker, I'm sure maybe you guys know him from Riot Squad podcast. We talked about in the offseason about Yoshida, and he's like, man, I just don't think I'd give him a deal. Like, I just feel like his better days are behind him. I think it'd be a mistake. And they gave him a 2-year deal, and I just think that is aged poorly. And I feel like they've got to clean up their mess and get younger. Now, Walker Zimmerman is 5 years younger than Yoshida, so that's a positive. I don't know how much you guys have watched Nashville SC, but I just don't think Zimmerman's the same player he was 2 years ago. Like, I think he's really, really declined in the last year and a half. Like, he's a shell of his former self.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I haven't watched tons of Nashville, like you said, but I think he might do well in a system like Greg's, which isn't, so transition based. It's more
and so high line and too much of a high line. We don't play that much of a high line. We kind of sit in deep, to be fair.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It may actually play to a player like Walker Zimmerman's strengths, but now's a good time to everybody here in chat to remind you guys to subscribe to Will's channel. Go ahead and subscribe to Laguna Galaxiana as well. You guys know where to find us. We're gonna bring this one on home really quickly. with what this pod today was originally supposed to be about, which was the Galaxy versus Club América. But really, we're just going to bring it on home with 3 things to watch out for. Basically, it boils down to, ladies and gentlemen, who plays, what does it turn out in crowd split and level of competitiveness? Well, this Galaxy team has nothing to play for against Club América. Some players, like Fagundes, for example, was not even on the roster anymore. So who plays in this one? The vets or the kids? I mean, if you're Greg Vanney, and mind you, he doesn't have a ton of players available either. Who do you go with? I mean, just basically whoever's available, or do you actually try to set up your team in a certain way?
Well, I think they'll probably play the young guys just to give them that experience and let them test the waters a little bit. I mean, we saw a lot of young guys play this year due to injuries and just, get some playing time, especially with the situation they were in. I was just surprised that they're having a friendly so soon. I never heard of a November friendly before. Normally it's like January at least, right? I mean, not even December. So, when you guys had messaged me earlier and said, we got to talk about this and the friendly, I'm like, friendly? They got a friendly? Damn, They got a friendly before the semifinals of the MLS Cup playoffs. That's crazy. So
got to take advantage of that 3-week window, man.
Yeah.
It's a 3-week window. Exactly. Maybe some of these playoff teams should have some friendlies. No, but I think that they'll probably play most of the young guys and just kind of test them. And maybe Club America will probably do the same thing. I'll be curious to see how many people show up to this game. Obviously, there's a lot of Liga MX fans in LA. So I don't think that it's going to be dead or anything. I think there'll definitely be people there because how often do you get to see your team play in your backyard, right? That's exactly. If you're not an LA Galaxy fan. I mean, I think it's going to be a youth movement, and I'm just curious to see what they get out of this, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, we spoke to Greg, and he honestly, obviously he wants to keep everybody healthy that is healthy. But he said that it's an opportunity to give players like Lucas Sanabria, who didn't play as much as he would have liked, a run out, right? And you're absolutely right. I mean, this one is going to be a lot of Club América fans. I mean, our good friend, Professor Alejandro Ruiz, ran a poll on Twitter, and he asked Galaxy fans how they felt about this, and about 50% said they were uninterested in this match. I mean, the ticket prices are kind of high. And then, again, why in November, and why so early?
And just to be clear, I just checked, the cheapest seat right now available is $70, guys. $70.
That's redonk,
friendly in November.
That's redonk. I mean, like Will said, I mean, if you're a Club América fan, then yes. If you're a Galaxy fan,
correct.
Then no, right? Because you're not really playing for anything if you're a Galaxy fan. Now, if you're a Club América fan, it's a chance to see your team, like Will said, in your backyard right before the playoffs, right before the Liguilla. Yep. And so, speaking of the level of competitiveness, I mean, this is not even a friendly, I don't think. This is more kind of like an exhibition. This is kind of like,
an all-star game.
Yeah, I mean, because the Galaxy, said a couple of times, Greg said a couple of times he doesn't want anyone to get injured. And then he pointed to where each team is. It's obviously the Galaxy's preseason. They're trying to get healthy. And this is Club América's playoff prep run, right? So this isn't figuring to be a competitive match in any way, shape, or the form. So, well, I mean, with that, I guess without as much cynicism as you can, why even play this game? Is this just a blatant money grab, or should we say, should we give them the benefit of the doubt and say this is for the fans who want to see Club América?
I think it's a money grab, which is kind of funny in a sense because I think talking to some LA Galaxy fans, they were just so ready for the season to be over. They didn't want to go to any of the games. They didn't want to watch any of the games. So why would they want to go watch a exhibition match that doesn't count in this, 4 weeks after they just had the worst season in their existence, right? This is just a ploy to get the Club America fans to go watch it in LA and, probably fill out the stadium. I'd be very surprised if there's more than 20% of LA Galaxy fans at that stadium, honestly. I think it's going to be mostly Club America fans.
Yeah. Well, and to throw in another wrinkle in there, guys, with the turnout, forecast for this Saturday in LA, kind of surprising. It's gonna rain. There's a storm rolling in tomorrow, and it's gonna stay until Saturday. So how many? It's gonna be interesting, man. Because us in LA, we don't like rain. Like we're rain. Like what's that? So there you go.
Yeah,
That's
no
gonna
nos
be an interesting
gusta.
wrinkle there. Yep.
Well, Will, thank you so much, man, for being here with us. We do appreciate it, man. There was a lot to get through. We do appreciate you hanging out and giving us your thoughts on, like you mentioned, probably one of the biggest things that's happened in this league in its history.
Can I ask you guys one question before I leave?
Yeah,
sure. You can ask me anything.
Are you Greg in or you Greg out?
I'm Greg in.
Right now.
Yeah, right now.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna change my tune, Rob.
Right now, I'm Greg in, but there have been moments where I've been Greg out. Like for example, after 2023, we were sitting there in the press conference, and we were asking him, like, what do you think that you should be the guy to lead this team forward? And we didn't know whether he was gonna have a job the next year, and he stuck around. But I've always said, if the man has a contract and he's the guy, then if you're a Galaxy fan, you got to support your guy until it just becomes untenable.
And to add to that too, I felt that way as well. I think it's a good way to put it, Rob, because I'm in, but there were points. Like the other point for me was, we were in Sports Illustrated Stadium for that 7-0 shellacking, and I've never been more embarrassed as putting my fan hat on. I've never been more embarrassed as a Galaxy fan, and I thought he'd lost the team that night. Again, I don't know what's going on behind closed doors. Apparently that wasn't the case, but I mean, look, it's a tough one. It's always a contentious one with us and everyone in chat, but I just I look at his track record and I'm like, this guy can't be that bad. He can't be as bad as a 16-game winless streak coach. But he was, right? And so the proof is always in the pudding. But I just look at his track record and I'm like, okay, were there other extenuating circumstances that you could have put Pep Guardiola in that position? And, maybe you eke out another win or two there. But in the end, the total body of work wouldn't have mattered. This team was doomed to not to make the playoffs at the end. So I don't know. But he's on a short leash, like Potterman has said. I agree with that 100%. He's definitely on a short leash. That I agree with 100%.
I'm pretty strong on Greg out. I just think if you look at the totality of his tenure, he's only made the playoffs 2 out of 5 years, 2022 and 2024. That's unacceptable. And Ricky Puig is obviously a very important piece in the machine, right? But this team is not so talentless that they can't even make it to the 9th seed or the 8th seed in the Western Conference. Like, that is my critique of him. Is a good coach isn't about how good your good players play, but how good your bad players play and how they raise to the occasion. And I just feel like he came up so small in so many moments in 2020 and 2025. And I look at the regression of Gabriel Peck compared to 2024. I mean, that guy was on the trajectory to be the highest selling player in MLS history. Like, I'm talking $30 million probably he could have sold for. And that's just completely disappeared. Like, I don't even know if they could get 15 for him right now. Probably not, honestly. And this is another thing too, guys. It's like the Galaxy are the gold standard of Major League Soccer. That's why I have high expectations for him. That's why I'm Greg out.
Legitimate.
Any other team in any other country, if they lost 5 to 6 in a row, they would be on the hot seat. He went winless in 16 matches. There is no other club in the world, Benfica, Man City, Manchester United, Liverpool, no other team. It doesn't matter who's hurt. They would have fired his ass in a heartbeat.
Yeah, no, like I mentioned, I mean, there were definite points where I've been Greg out, and that was actually one of them. I mean, we were shocked, Anand and I, when he got the contract extension during that stretch. And for a long time, I mean, when we'd have a guest on that, we would kind of, that would be one of our questions for them, because we would want to gauge, like the reaction to a coach currently being, I think at that point he was 11 winless when he got the extension. And I remember speaking to him and post practice one day, and there was a bunch of us around, and he was talking to us in the press, and he was kind of sheepish about it. He's like, I feel kind of bad that's come right now, and with everything that's happening. So he was definitely cognizant of the optics of it. And I don't know how much you know about it, Will, but Will Kuntz has talked about how, they made a gentleman's agreement, and like they shook hands and made a gentleman's agreement in the hours after MLS Cup, basically. But they decided that they were going to prioritize, building the roster or, putting the team first before they actually put pen to paper. And then he also mentioned that the actual terms were kind of hard to hammer out with Vanny's agent. So that's why it happened when it did. But no, I mean, the optics were terrible.
And the optics are terrible.
That's definitely one of the moments where I was Vanny out as well.
Well, the other thing that I wanted to layer into is, Will, and maybe this is something I thought about, which is, I always look at these things as terms of fit. Like, for example, when I saw the Tata with Atlanta thing, I was like, yeah, he didn't do what his team probably should have achieved in Miami, but I think Atlanta looks like a really good fit. And so I think about the succession plan for Greg. And to be honest with you, there was probably one, maybe two, if they were available coaches I would like for the Galaxy to replace Greg, and that would have been Bruce and possibly Wilfred Nancy. Like, those are the only two guys like that I could see go step into this role, into the limelight, and take this project even forward. So I kind of look at the opportunity costs from that sense as well. Like, what's my succession plan, and am I going to get a better output with the available talent that's out there? That's how. Again, I'm not making an excuse for Greg, because like you guys said, I agree with everything you guys have said in terms of the optics and the 16-game losing streak. That's inexcusable. Like you said, it's a sackable offense, right? In most countries. But I think about like who that succession plan would be, and that's where I struggle personally if I was in the front office shoes. For
who would you appoint, Will? I mean, and not to mention Wilfred Nancy, Bruce Arena. I mean, we've heard from Galaxy fans, during that stretch, because there was a lot of Galaxy fans out with pitchforks, hey, Jim Curtin's out there, go big and get Jose Mourinho was
we don't develop youth players very well, though. Well,
Jose Mourinho was joke mentioned at one point as well. So who would you go with that is a conceivable target, not like Jose Mourinho joke territory.
Well, I'll say this too, guys. Vanni Sartini was fired with the Whitecaps in 2024 after they made the playoffs. And a lot of people are saying, well, maybe that was unfair. He'd made the playoffs like 2 or 3 years, and maybe that was unjust. And they hired this unknown Danish manager named Jesper Sorensen. And now they're the second best. They're the second best team in the Western Conference, might be the favorite to win MLS Cup. And the rest is history. And I think that when you look at a team, it's always scary to make the leap because it's leap into unknown. But I just like to think that a better coach, and I don't think the bar is in hell for this. I mean, of how bad that was for Greg's performance, the 16-game winless streak. I just like to think that a better coach would have done better than that. Like, there's a lot of coaches that would do better than that. I don't think Wilfred Nancy coaching the same team would have went winless in 16 matches. But there's a guy on the market right now who has a lot of success, who's been to the MLS Cup, who's a free agent coach. What about a guy like Jim Curtin, who has developed young players at Philadelphia? I like to think that Jim Curtin's a better coach or could do more. I mean, the Philadelphia Union have a money ball system where they don't spend a lot of money, and the guy was consistently winning and was one Gareth Bell goal away from winning MLS Cup in 2023 or 2022, excuse me. So there's a lot of good managers, and there's a lot of good ones we don't know about, right? You just got to get your opportunity. And if something's not working, you have to be willing to take a chance on someone and take a swing. Because listen, if that guy doesn't work, you can always, run it back with something else. Like go hire another manager. Montreal's in a way worse position than you guys are. Like they're like in purgatory, right? It took them a while, and they got lucky and hired a Wilfred Nancy. And, he got them to finish second place in the Eastern Conference with a really, really bare bone team, like nothing compared to what some of these other teams have. So I say that because as an outsider, I just hold the Galaxy to such a high standard. And I feel like when something like this goes, or I don't want to say it's accepted, but in a sense it kind of is because there's no punishment for it. that it just kind of like makes
that's it. Yep.
Yeah, it just kind of makes it feel like you
Accountability.
guys don't. Yeah, accountability. Exactly. It just makes me feel like you guys or the people in charge don't think of themselves like everyone else thinks of them and has the high standard. I just, like I said, I know all these other teams around the world and hell, even in South America. But if a coach went winless in 16 matches, there's no way they're making it out of that.
Oh no, absolutely. I mean, I stated it in several articles. I mean, this is something unseen. I mean, the Galaxy set several unwanted records this year. I mean, and not to mention him, you look at this guy and you go, this guy's not that bad, but the data doesn't lie. This team did lose those 16 matches. It was the worst performance for a repeat champ for a champion in MLS history. I mean, it was the worst points per game total as well. I mean, the worst historic Galaxy season. So you look at all these things and you go, man, should Greg be the guy? And again, there's been points where I've been Greg out, but right now he has a contract, and so what am I going to do? Just hate on the guy incessantly.
He's on the hot seat though. He's on the hot seat, and this is like
absolutely like, and I'll take him to task when he messes up, in print.
The start of next season is going to be super interesting, especially if we get that first round. Week 1, February 3rd, CCC. Whew, I don't know how that's going to go down.
Guys, another thing too that kind of like is weird about it is like it just feels like Greg always gets a chance to clean his mess up. Like I said, he didn't make the playoffs in he made it. He didn't make it in 21. He made it in 22, so he got back in good graces. He missed in 23, and then he made it in 24, got back in good graces. It's just like he gets the longest leash I've ever seen in my life to clean up his mess.
Inconsistency.
It's inconsistency, and I feel like with this team, the Galaxy should, in an 18-team playoff format, the Galaxy should never be missing the playoffs, ever. Like, that's a non-starter. They should be top 4 finisher every single season. That's the standard. This is the team with the most MLS Cups in the entire history of the league. And now Greg could be better next year, and they finish fourth seed in the Western Conference, make the playoff run, but then what happens in 27 if he does the same thing he did in 2025? And then, so we're just going to give him another year to fix it. Like, there has to be an end to this eventually. And he has to be winning consistently, because I know that if Jim Curtin or Wilfred Nancy or Tata Martino were the manager of the 2024 Galaxy, they still would have won MLS Cup. So I don't think it was Greg Vanney's the X factor of why they were the champions in 2024.
Interesting. Could you imagine a Wilfred Nancy led 2024 LA Galaxy team and what that would have looked like? We do have a super chat. The homie Adam, thank you so much. He says, hey guys, out of topic, but how do you guys think the stadium will be on Saturday, especially with the ticket prices and now with the rain coming up? Yeah, Adam, we kind of touched on this one already. I mean, we think that it's going to be largely America fans. And I mean, ticket prices are $70. Nana just checked.
A lot of empty seats.
So, I mean, it's going to be a lot of empty seats, especially with the rain, but the people that are there are going to be Club América fans. So, I mean, if you're going to be there, expect a lot of yellow. Will, what's the glamour tie for you for the remaining matches of the playoffs? So, of course, we got San Diego versus Minnesota, Vancouver versus LAFC, Philadelphia versus NYCFC, and Cincinnati versus Miami.
Well, it's going to be an absolute slugfest. All the top 3 seeded teams made the playoffs, which is nice. There wasn't as many. Well, I mean, I guess it's all about perspective if you support the team. But last year's a lot of upsets. This year, there are not so many. It's going to be a battle. I'm excited. It's got to wait that extra week, guys, until we get back to watching it. But
it was worth the 3 weeks.
I'll tell you this. I know a lot of the Galaxy fans are going to hear this, but that Whitecaps versus LAFC match is going to be a slugfest. Like, that's the true Western Conference final to me.
Yeah, I think whoever wins that tie actually
I'm watching that for sure. Yep.
Yeah. Now, I know a lot of you guys are probably rooting for the Whitecaps, understandably, right? But either way, it's going to be a great game. I think it's going to be a highly intense chess match. And I really have no idea who's going to win that game. And then San Diego obviously plays, top of my head, the 4th seed. They play the
Minnesota.
Minnesota United, exactly. Minnesota United. Sorry, just keeping up all this stuff. That's going to be an interesting matchup. Not nearly as interesting as the LAFC versus Vancouver Whitecaps. And then the Eastern Conference has got some good matchups. You got Inter Miami and Cincinnati. It's a great matchup. And then you have Philadelphia versus New York City FC. This is a good playoffs. This is very interesting. I don't even have a remote guess of who's going to win it all. There's just so many unknowns. The easy way would be like Miami and Messi, but I really don't know if they're going to win it. I don't know if they got the team to do it.
Yeah, I think Don Garber would like some combination of like Miami versus like, I don't know. I think his glamour tie would probably be Miami versus LAFC if Don Garber had his way.
100%.
If Don Garber had his way, that'd be it. But yeah, like I mentioned, I mean, I think whoever wins that tie will probably at least make the final. But I've been kind of counting San Diego out, and they've proved me wrong so far. We got another super chat from the homie Adam. He says, "Do you guys think number 5 NYCFC seed will do the upset versus Philly?" Well, you were just talking about how all the top seeds kind of won out in the first opening rounds.
Except,
do you think NYCFC is gonna do the business against Philly?
I think there's a very good chance because New York City FC had to be Road Warriors. They're the only lower seeded team to advance the next round in the playoffs. So they had to go win at least one game at Charlotte FC, which they did the final match of the season or the final match of the first round. I think Philadelphia is probably the most fraudulent top seed team just because they don't have any like that X factor player who can take over a game like all these other teams do. They just play good collective ball. So I just feel like they don't have the roster, the team to win it all. And yeah, I would say that of all the games, that's probably my biggest likelihood for an upset.
Yeah. So who do you have in San Diego versus Minnesota?
Oh man. I'm telling you, this is like San Diego is one of these, they're an expansion team. I'm kind of waiting for the fall off. Like they're really good. I just think that their days are numbered. They got a team that's completely new, inexperienced, never played an elimination game before. Now the question is, if they win MLS Cup or LAFC, does that make things a little different with the pressure for you guys having another California team win MLS Cup? If LAFC win MLS Cup, especially with who they signed, I feel like, man, that just has to crank the temperature up on things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, if it's LAFC, it certainly ramps up the pressure on the Galaxy to get 2026 right. And if it's San Diego, it's I feel like Galaxy fans at the very least wouldn't mind as much. There isn't so much of that rivalry there yet. I mean, it's starting to brew, but it's not huge yet.
I was gonna say real quick with San Diego, I think the X factor is that their home stadium, their home form has been amazing this year. And I think that's a huge advantage for them, like it was for the Galaxy in 2024. That was huge that we played that Western Conference final at home against Seattle. Otherwise, I don't think we would have won at Lumen Field. I think it might be the same for San Diego.
Yeah, Anders Dreyer is a pleasure to watch. He's just incredible. He's just, I mean, I think he's the best player in the league who's doesn't have a big name. Right? I mean, he's that guy. I mean, he takes over the game. He had like 19 goals, 19 assists in 2025. He's just an absolute animal. Like he does everything, and he is the entire. Well, maybe that's a little unfair, but he is the probably 80% reason why the San Diego FC are what they are in 2025. And I guess it's just not smart to count that guy out. But like I said, expansion teams are weird, guys. It's really hard to win as an expansion team. There's a lot of things that you don't really foresee, and the grind of the season and all new teammates, even though they've played a lot of games together. A rookie head coach who's never coached a senior team before until this year. I just think the playoffs are a different animal, and I do think they have a good chance. I would say that I lean towards San Diego FC, but you just never know.
Well, you mentioned you don't know who, or you can't call who might end up being the champ, but of the remaining teams, do you have a heart dart for anybody? Do you have a horse in the race?
I'll say this. I really believe whoever wins that LAFC Vancouver Whitecaps match not only is going to make it to the final, I think they're going to win it all. I think that is that would be my betting favorite to win it all. They both have been playing really incredible the last 10 games of the season with their new additions. And that would be my betting favorite. Whoever wins that game, that's the favorite to win MLS Cup.
Yeah, that's fair.
We have another super chat from the homie Adam. Adam, thank you so much. He says, I don't see LAFC winning unless they were at home. And obviously they're playing in Vancouver, and they're playing on a hard field to earn a win.
The carpet.
Yeah, I mean the carpet.
Yeah.
I mean this is a big factor. I mean,
It's true.
Is it enough of a factor to derail LAFC? Do you think, Will?
It really depends on what LAFC team shows up. Denny Bwanga and Son Heung-min have been really good together. They scored like 17, 18 goals collectively in the last 7 games of the season, 8 games of the season, and they were absolutely tearing it up. Yeah, it might be arguably one of the better duos we've ever seen in MLS history, just because of the goal production. If they play well, I think they will win. But if they have even if they slightly regress from their last performances, I think they might be in trouble, because the carpet's a big deal. The turf's a big deal because of age, and Son Heung-min obviously being 33 years old, not really being familiar with playing on that surface. And I just think that Vancouver reminds me a lot of Philadelphia as far as just their team ball they play, but they have an X factor player named Thomas Muller. And I think that he could be a difference maker of why.
Space intruder.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So that's it. It really is. I mean, this is almost like a Super Bowl for MLS. I mean, it really is an incredible game. And I know someone's saying FLAFC. I get it. But I'm just neutral here. I'm enjoying the experience.
And we have to call it like it is. And speaking of X factors, guys, on the other side, I think if Mark Delgado is the X factor for the LAFC, I think they have a really, really good shot of winning this game. I was talking to the guys from Defenders of the Bank on a different podcast the other day, and they have said Mark Delgado's been their best midfielder this year easily, and he just keeps making winning plays, and he's gonna be one to watch, guys, for sure. In that series, in my opinion.
La Habra, sports fan, says Thomas Mueller farms league titles. Yeah, I mean, I honestly, here's this might get me canceled by Galaxy fans, but I always said that LAFC lacked something to get over the hump, and when Giorgio Chiellini got there, he was that final piece. That bit of experience, that bit of know-how, that bit of just quality that got him over the edge. And I think that might be Thomas Mueller for Vancouver. They were already a good team. I mean, at the beginning of the year, we were talking about this team being a potential record-setting team with the pace they were putting on. And then, they kind of fell off a little bit after, the Champions Cup and other things, other commitments. But they definitely did have a good season then, and they play really good ball. And like I said, this final piece, Thomas Mueller, he might be the guy, guys. Adam comes back with another one, and he goes, LAFC were winless versus Vancouver in the regular season for the first time versus them in years. Ooh, and playing against them on the road in Vancouver.
Without Son, he hadn't played a game.
That's true. Also true.
Yeah. Well, guys, that looks to be about it for us. We've had a great conversation with the homie Will. Like we mentioned, come back, please, anytime. We'd love to have you. And then, if you're ever in Los Angeles, we'll take you on that taco tour, Papa.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I'll hold you to it.
Oh, no, definitely. Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much. We do appreciate it. And go ahead and subscribe to MLS Moves and all Will's channels, and go ahead and support this man. He is, like he mentioned, on his way to 20K, and he is covering pretty in depth the MLS Cup playoffs. So go ahead and check out all his videos. Will, thanks so much, brother.
Thank you so much, guys. It was a pleasure to be with you, and good luck to the Galaxy in 2026.
Thanks, man. From your lips to the Lord's ears. Thank you, man.
Right? Yeah.
Have a good night, man.
Later. Guys, we're going to go ahead and leave you here with a couple of announcements, and then we're going to get out of here. The next blue, white, and gold pop-up is happening. It's back at Common Space Brewery, LA on Sunday, December 14th from 12 to 5 p.m. Shout out to 1-2 Threads for their Dodgers back-to-back tee. This is some hot fire, so go ahead and check that out. Go ahead and support the Podfather, Josh Gessman, Corner of the Galaxy, at the Train Club on Saturday 14th and Sunday the 15th. This is an amazing picture. Thank you, Ananda, for this. They're doing a toy drive, and you guys should go ahead and go by and donate some toys. Support the Train Club and the Podfather, ride some trains, and do something good. Donate some toys, help some kids. Guys, we've already let you know a couple times about the CVI still going on. The Galaxy are not participating as of yet. We will let you know if that changes after the Champions Cup draw on Tuesday, December 9th. The U.S. men's national team, they beat Czechia 1-0, and now they will play now they will play Morocco on Friday, November 14th. That is tomorrow at 7:45 Pacific time. And the United States will play Paraguay in a couple of days here on November 15th. That'll be going down at 2 p.m. Pacific time. And then just a few days later, they'll be playing Uruguay on November 18th at 4 p.m. Pacific. These are the last USA matches of 2025. Adam, gracias for your super chats, man. We do appreciate it. Will the MLS season run through December in 2027? I got to live live.
He got to the live late.
And will any MLS teams play on Thanksgiving or Christmas? No to Christmas. There will be a winter break. What did we say, Ananda? What is it? No, it won't run through 2027. There is that December break.
Yeah.
So
December, January break. Mm-hmm.
Right. So it ends in what, November?
I'm guessing. Yeah. I'm not sure about the Thanksgiving. We don't have the specifics. I don't think. We just know the months. Here, Adam, I will just for you, Papa. I will pull up these calendar again.
There we go.
So again, it looks like it's like mid-December through mid-February. But again, like all those fine print will be out, I'm sure, in short order here.
Yeah, absolutely. So it looks like no games in the last half of December, and then there's a winter break. The league will resume in February. We did mention that they might be looking at throwing the League's Cup in that window. Who knows?
Could be.
We have another super chat. The homie, Tom Tremblay. Thank you so much, man. Says he just wanted to show some love and support.
Oh, man. Much love, man.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We do appreciate it, man. And thank you to everybody that was in chat today. Thank you to our guest, Will Forbes, aka MLS Moves. I mean, always beautiful conversation with him and Saifo. I mean, the guy's been covering the league for a cool minute, and he is a depth of knowledge. So go ahead and support his channels as well. The homie, Leo, with another super chat, says the organization I work for is doing a food drive. I have it posted on my social media. If everyone can pass it along, much appreciated. Leo, let us know in chat when the food drive is or when it runs through. And obviously, if we get on the air before it ends, we will definitely feature the flyer and get the word out there. Thank you so much for bringing some awareness to that. Guys, thank you so much in chat for being here. We do appreciate it. Ananda, anything else to add before we wrap it on up?
Nothing else, but if you guys really enjoyed the show, which I definitely did, it was an emergency stream, one of our first ones, but we had to because there was some massive news that dropped, and guys, this can completely change the face of the league and also the fortunes of the LA Galaxy. Remember, like, we've got a lot of roster building to do now. It's not going to happen this year, but in the future years to come, it'll be interesting to see how this shapes out. So wanted to thank all you guys. And again, if you haven't yet, go ahead and hit the like button on your way out. And if you like what you listen to, go ahead and subscribe to our channel, hit the notification bell so that you know we're going to have another emergency stream if crazy news drops like this again. And I'm sure we'll get another great guest as well. So we'll see you guys on Monday after for the reaction for the Club América game. I will be covering the game on Saturday, and I will try to get you guys as much coverage. Rob, we're gonna have a mix zone this time again.
La
So
zona mix mix
I'm gonna try to get some player interviews, coaches interviews, all that good stuff post match, just in case you guys wanted to know what was going on with the game and other little tidbits for the Galaxy. So thanks, guys, for joining us, and Papa, we'll see everyone on Monday.
We have another super chat. The homie Adam asks, do you guys know if there will be anything new at Stadium in 2026? I do know, but not right off the top of my head. I have it in some notes somewhere. Tom Braun did let us know at media availability that they were making some improvements. When they announced the improvements last year, they did announce a multi-year plan where every year they were going to be making improvements to the stadium in some way, shape, or form. So they are making improvements. I just don't remember what they are, Adam. I'm very, very sorry. I apologize. Leo says the food drive is till December 18th. It got extended. So it looks like, yes, we will be on the air.
Oh, yeah.
Again. So
Wi-Fi.
go ahead and send us the info, Leo, and we will go ahead and feature that on the next time we were on the air. Yeah, Joe 13 Cool says Wi-Fi. That could be it.
Yeah, he mentioned it. I think he mentioned it on the Corner Galaxies live show that they did. I think that's when he announced that.
League-wide Wi-Fi, huh?
No, Dignity Health Sports Park boosted Wi-Fi.
Oh, I'm sorry. I mean stadium-wide.
Stadium-wide. Yep.
And here I just want the cookies to be less than $22, man. That's all I want. Anyway, guys, we appreciate it as well, Leo. Nah, man, these are worthy causes. You guys should be letting us know about stuff like this. It's a pleasure to go ahead and get the word out for the community, and you know, I mean, this is really what we do it for you know, the betterment of the community. You know, if we can go ahead and help out in some way, shape, or form, definitely let us know. And yeah, make sure to go ahead and drop in the DMs and send us the flyer and send us the info, and we'll make sure to feature it on Monday for our Galaxy versus Club América reaction pod, which is, of course, happening on Monday, November 17th. No matter what happens on Saturday, Ananda will be there in the flesh, and he'll be talking to some players. I will not be there, guys. I'm sorry to be letting you down, but I will not be there. However, I'm sending the next best thing, which is Ananda. He's going to go and make sure to hold down the fort. But either way, we're going to bring you that reaction on the 17th, and then after that, we'll probably be back with you the following week on Monday the 24th, unless something earth-shattering like the league deciding to flip their entire schedule happens, which happened today. Yeah, we will see you again on the 17th. Anything else to add, Ananda?
Only one thing left to say, Papa.
One thing left to say, and it's G's up. Te quiero tanto, tanto, tanto.